I clicked shuffle on the new background music playlist, which is publicly available in the playlist section of my channel for anyone so inclined as to want to find out what music plays in the background of these things. And I was just gobsmacked by the utter hilarity and poetic irony of such a happy, upbeat, catchy, jaunty, yet relaxed little tune juxtaposed against the sheer anger and frustration I'm feeling today, which is why this video is being made. Now, my bad day has nothing at all to do with competitive Pokemon. This is just the vessel I'm using to blow off steam. But I have wanted to make this video in general because hot takes and what I dislike and like sometimes about the competitive scene. Sharing that, I think, is a positive act. It fosters thought and discussion. That's a good thing. But by making this video now, it's going to have more of a genuinely angry charge to it, which I hope will make it more satisfying and cathartic for myself and maybe even you, the viewer slash listener. I was actually going to make another video today, maybe even two, back to back, because they tread on similar ground. But then I realized if I do them before I do this one, then I'm just going to have unexpressed anger spilling out everywhere, and I didn't want that to get in the way of those. So that's what this video is for, because sometimes you gotta vent. So I do not have a list I'm going to be plucking these from. It's just going to be stuff that pops into my head from my years in the competitive Pokemon scene until it pleases me. And it's not going to be anywhere near scripted because I like to ramble, and I know that really upsets some people. And right now, the thought of someone getting upset over a YouTube video not being scripted is actually giving me a little bit of perverse pleasure. I'm really going to indulge in my sadistic side today, which doesn't come out very much. I've really mellowed out over the last few years. But seeing as I feel a little powerless in my real life right now and at the mercy of outside forces, which I greatly dislike, I'm going to use this opportunity to let it all out in the Pokesphere, which is pretty standard practice in the competitive Pokemon worlds. Why else would there be people in the Smog Tours chat being as nasty as they possibly could towards anyone who happens to be playing a tournament game there? Yeah, so I really do enjoy the thought of someone just getting furious over a video that could have been a quarter of its length if it had been scripted and concise and not rambling all over the place. Like, yeah, I would love to just give you the spark notes of it. Like it was copied off of a Wikipedia page or something. So I just read it to you so you don't have to read it yourself or look into it yourself. And why would you want the detailed, intricate version of that when you could just get the bare bones version and not actually understand it in depth? Yeah, no, that sounds way better to me. Because you clearly have really important things to be doing with your time if you're on fucking YouTube. It's like, oh yeah, this could have been 5 minutes instead of 20, and I'm really upset about that. Yeah. So that doesn't really have much to do with the competitive Pokemon sphere per se, but it's definitely related. The replay on the screen, I forgot about it. I don't know when I'm going to start playing it, and when I do play it, it's going to be on really slow mode because in a similar vein, I really enjoy the idea of someone being so physically uncomfortable with sitting still that they're just squirming, trying to get that physical angst out of their body as they crane every limb they have, frustrated with the fact that the next turn hasn't happened yet. Because they have to know, because they couldn't just look up the fucking replay on their own. Yeah, that's something else. I guess that bugs me. Like when I do a video about analyzing a battle and I try to map it out as much as possible. It's like, play the battle. It's like, watch the fucking replay. Oh, I feel better already. Well, good God. It's really not healthy to keep things bottled up. But of course, you can't let things out whenever you feel like. There are appropriate avenues for this, like screaming into a microphone for YouTube. And I really do hope that this makes someone else feel better, because sometimes you just gotta let it out. What else bugs me? Oh, well, this video is called Scalding Hot Takes. So, scald. Well, okay, it's not scald necessarily, because I'm going to make a video dedicated to why scald is just the worst. That is not necessarily it. What bugs me more about scald is the discourse around it, which is so unbelievably myopic, so absurdly obtuse. Well, okay, it's either dishonest or obtuse. If it's dishonest, then it's on par with people like in Gen 4 when people thought, yeah, Garchomp is insanely broken, but I want it in OU because it's easy for me to win with. That's actually something that people have admitted to doing on many occasions. And I'm sure, Gen 4 Garchomp is far from the only case of that ever happening. But a lot of the players who you would think would know better will also say the stupidest shit about Scald, like, oh, it's just like Lava Plume, or even worse. Well, if you ban Scald, you have to ban Body Slam and fucking Sludge Bomb and Discharge. Like, yeah, those are the same fucking thing. Yeah, so that at least is just dishonesty, which, I mean, okay, I get it if we're talking, it's a competitive game and, Scald gives me great odds to win, so why would I want it banned? Forget the fact that it fucks you over too, but, never mind. Yeah, that at least I get, but when people are genuinely so obtuse as to believe that Scald is like fucking Sludge Bomb and Body Slam, I mean, competitive Pokemon discourse in general tends to be mind-numbingly dumb. I took a reason and argument class in college, and I loved it. It was great. It was a lot of fun, and the best part about it was that not just that I enjoyed it, but that I never had to study once, and I knew every single type of argument there. And I think I wound up getting like a 98 or a 99 in the class. And the whole reason it was so easy was because of my years arguing Pokemon policy with fucking idiots. That could be its own video itself. I mean, this might be the angriest video I ever make that isn't directly related to Gen 5 OU on its own. I mean, because even if I did competitive Pokemon tiering stuff in general, then, or the way the system around competitive Pokemon, both tournaments and tiering, is done, then that includes Gen 5 but is not exclusive to it, much like this one. Or much like this video, rather. Yeah, that's, Alright, what else bugs me? Let's see. I forgot where I was, so I'm just going to move on to something else. I'm pretty sure I got most of the point across anyway. This isn't really something that bugs me. Actually, before we get to that, and yes, I'm jumping all over the place, and I hope it bothers someone. I understand that that's petty, but that's what I need right now, so. And I think that a lot of people also need people to be petty sometimes. I know I sure enjoy it whenever I'm hearing someone being dramatic, and I'm just like, I hope you did the pettiest thing, and they're like, yeah. And that's great. So I actually thought that this Gen 5 OU game was very good. This is from the finals of the recently concluded Smogon Premier League. And I thought this game was great. I didn't get to catch it live, unfortunately. But I really enjoyed following the replay. And I thought it was well performed on both sides. So, let's see what else bugs me. I don't like the loss to the Dark and Ghost Resists that Steel got in Gen 6. One of them, okay, I get it, because of Fairy being introduced. But I think the game was generally much more balanced when Steel resisted Dark, at least. Ghost, okay. Well, I mean, if you keep Pursuit in the game, then it's not really a problem. But, I mean, the Steel not resisting Dark, and, especially in the same gen as Knockoff, it's too much. Can you imagine, like, Weavile in Gen 8, which is considered by many to be insanely, if not broken, then unbelievably frustrating. Can you imagine if it still had both stabs resisted by steel? Yeah, forget it. I'm sure it'd still be good, but nowhere near the please ban this factor that a lot of Sword and Shield players I see will describe it as. Let's see. Oh, on the subject of cheese and team matchup, well, theoretically, or not theoretically, I do agree with the fact that you should do whatever you can to win in a competitive game. That, of course, is beyond question. What bothers me more about cheese, which when I made the video about it was a point that was missed spectacularly by many, was that it's not that cheese shouldn't exist and it's cheap or whatever. It's more that people are so unwilling to try and beat people who they perceive better than them that they just throw it all to to match up dice rolls. And I think that's a real shame. It takes the game, because, put it this way, if you are in, because it generally tends to happen in, like, team tournaments where the players are chosen because they're good. And if you're being selected for such a team tournament and you are theoretically supposed to have earned that slot over the many other people trying to get in there, right? It's not like the official Smoking tournament or something where anyone can sign up and join. No, here you're supposed to be there because you're good, and it's like, oh, no, I'm never going to beat this guy. Let me just pray. No, I think that's a bad look. I also guess part of it is that I think SPL is way too big. I have advocated before for lower slots. Or a lower number of slots, rather. So you would, or not slots, teams. So, because every year you always say, oh, I don't know how this generation is going to field 10 quality players. And there are various reasons for that. But it's like, yeah, so cut it down to 8. I guess the problem is then that, half the teams make it to the playoffs, which, sure. I mean, I don't claim to have all the solutions, but I really don't think that there are enough players that can consistently perform at the SPL level. And there are a lot of reasons for this. Like even experienced players I was just talking about this with someone. Under the pressure of SPL, when the game matters most, that's when you are most tempted to bring the stupidest team anyone's ever seen in their lives. And, and then you realize after, oh, if I brought a regular team, I would have been fine. But, the whole prep thing drives people absolutely berserk. And it's like, oh, yeah, no, I should use this team of 5 UUs and a BL in this OU match. Yeah. I'm all over the place. I know this is just random anger, but I don't really much care if this is coherent or not. I'm feeling better already, actually. So, yeah, this video might wind up being a lot shorter than I thought. No, I can come up with more tactics, or not tactics. The reason I said tactics was because I was thinking about the whole, I'm just going to give up and hope for matchup again. Well, I guess there is a positive flip side to that, which is that if you want to be an SPL, just watch the games that actually take place in SPL and all the stupid shit that happens in them, and then realize, hey, I could play better than that. Then, of course, you just have to show it. And, of course, you have to get in with the managers. And, yeah, there's a whole networking aspect and, like, a high school cliquish aspect of the tournament scene, which, it's awful. There's no way around it. So you gotta, do that, too. But it is relevant insofar as you have to share a team environment with these people while you're in the tournament. That's very important. So, yeah. Yeah, so I guess the positive of that is don't be discouraged from trying to get into the big tournaments, the team tournaments, because with as many slots as there are, the quality tends to be low. There tends to be a lot of dumpster diving, and so there's no reason why you can't be some of the garbage that gets picked out of that dumpster. I'm sure whoever you are listening to this, you're great. But yeah. Oh, speaking of cheese and matchup, the reason I don't like cheese is that I put it this way: I never feel the need to use cheese because, and I this might sound egotistical, and I'm sorry if it does, but it's not my intention. And there are many other players who are similar in this. But I never feel the need to use cheese because using cheese takes the game out of my hand, whether it's a positive or a negative matchup. And the risks of it going negative are obviously really, really big. And then you have that awful, awful, horrible feeling of running into a completely reasonable team and your cheese doesn't hit, and you're like, why did I not just bring a regular normal team which has a fine matchup against it because it's a regular normal team? It's happened so many times with so many people over the years, and yeah, and when you take the game out of your own hands, not only is the matchup fine afterwards, but there's never anyone, there's no player that you should be thinking, oh, there's no way I'll ever beat him. Now, okay, maybe if you're brand new to a tier and you're facing someone who's played it for 10 years, then okay, sure, maybe. But I'm just talking specifically about the team tournament environment where that shouldn't be happening. And even then, I mean, I've seen so many upsets of people just getting thrown into a tier and are facing someone who has way more experience and just playing good Pokemon and winning by being better. I guess it's a refusal to trust in yourself that fuels that whole, I need to, I'm never going to beat this person in a straight matchup, so I need to do something stupid. I'm not talking, catch them off guard with something good. Catching people off guard is good. What I'm talking about is taking the game out of both players, or your own hands, and hoping that the cheese does the work for you. And there is a distinguishable difference. And is this old man yells at Cloud, as was mentioned in the comments? Maybe a little bit. I don't have a problem with using something cheesy if it's like, because I think if something's so cheesy that it winds up being broken, it kind of just ceases to be cheesy. It just winds up being broken, So when I say cheesy, I mean like pretending that certain threats don't exist, and yeah. Because pretty much when you when you rely on a super specific matchup, not facing a certain threat, fishing for not facing top Pokemon number 5, then you are pretty much admitting I need to get lucky to win. Not in a hack sense, but in a matchup sense. And I don't like that. So, that is an opinion you might disagree with, which is completely fine. Let's see. What do I like? I do like a lot of things. I really like that, for all my complaining about Gen 5 OU, I do like the little bits of creativity that really shine when you are trying to gain every tiny inch you can, over your opponent. Like Finch was using something really cool on Polito this year. Was it eject button? I think it was eject button, which helps play around threats really, really nicely. Like it stops Rotom Volt Switch, for example. I thought that was really great. So I really appreciate how little things like that pay off. I also like a lot of the mechanics changes that have been instituted over the years. Like double protect being 50%, I think it's way too high a success rate for double protect. I really like how it got cut down. I think that's really good. Most of the changes, I think, mechanics-wise over the years, like electric types not being paralyzed, like that's really good. I think that would be a huge positive to have in the earlier generations. Let's see. What's my hot take on team pre... Well, I want to make a team preview versus non-team preview video in general. I don't know if I have a hot take on that. I like both team preview and non-team preview. I guess if I want to, have a hot take to, make someone riled up, then I guess I don't really... I feel myself mellowing out already. I don't have the anger I had 20 minutes ago anymore. That's great. What a positive exercise this has been. Yeah, I guess I don't very much care for. See how it's even I don't care for rather than I fucking hate. Even that I had to force, so that's a good thing. Um, yeah, I don't care for when people act like team preview is completely random and no, I think or lack of team preview. I think lack of team preview is really good because it rewards knowing the metagame, and I don't think team preview does the work for you at all. You have to be really good to make the most out of team preview. So I tend to look at them as just like different, not better or worse. But I do really like that team preview enable or really rewards knowing the tier you're playing, as opposed to just kind of. I guess that's another thing that bugs me is players who don't really engage in the tiers they play in and just play random stuff. And because once you reach a general skill level in Pokemon, and if they get fed teams, then their lack of knowledge in the tier tends to not matter as much because they just kind of get carried by the teams. A lot of teams are really autopilot, and yeah, I guess that's something that I also should make a video about. I don't think that using other people's teams is necessarily a bad thing. I think it's a great learning tool, but I really don't like when a lot of players' entire MO is being fed teams by others and just not ever learning about the tier and just going, yeah, I'll use what my... I've seen a lot of examples of this where someone has gotten far in a tournament in a certain tier despite not knowing much about it. And like the amount of players I've seen who have gotten far in like GSC Cup or something, and then they Swords Dance twice with Marowak, that's happened a lot. So it says something about Pokemon as a game, though. It tends to. I've talked about this with McMegan a lot. It's that just because you are successful does not mean you're playing the game well. And this is a couple of years ago when there was a lot of talk about exposing frauds and stuff like that. But yeah, this is why the results of a tournament, especially in a game like Pokemon, especially with our super flawed tournament structure, can't always be taken as gospel because you'll see really dumb stuff. I'll give you a perfect example. In 2011, I played my first ever GSC game against Earthworm, and I managed to win somehow, even though I used spikes twice with Cloyster, or Fortress, whatever my spiker was. And for those who don't know, in GSC, there's only one layer of spikes. So even though I won that game, because it was one game, then that doesn't mean that I was good at GSC. It just means that I won because of whatever reasons. And if you spike twice, then you are showing that you don't know the tier. And that was just like a random friendly game, but it's happened so many times in tournaments as well, as I just mentioned. Anyway, I pretty much said most of what I wanted to. I feel a lot better. I hope that this was cathartic and positive for you, the viewer/listener, as well. And if anything in here annoyed you, I really hope you leave a comment about it in great detail. Thank you, and I will see you in the next one.